I started in filmmaking in 2014. I had picked up a Canon T3i, and I went and filmed my first wedding as a second shooter with a buddy of mine. Here's a photo of our gear in the back of a car, and I think this is pretty much the only photo I have of that day outside of the footage that we captured. Didn't do a very good job of BTS. But from that first wedding video, I got so hooked on filmmaking. I mean, prior to that moment, I really wanted to do something with a camera, but I just didn't know what that would look like. So when I realized that you could get paid, and I think I only got $100 for second shooting that wedding, you could get paid to use a camera and film and tell stories, that really excited me. And so from that first wedding film, I was able to share that I was a part of that film. And I shared that on Facebook, and from that Facebook post, I actually booked 2 more weddings in the coming months. And the money that I got from those weddings, I immediately invested into a few more pieces of gear so that I could have a better kit, so that I could better create films. And I went on from that moment and kept doing wedding films. I put up a website, I showed the 2 or 3 films that I had done, provided a way for people to book me. And yeah, I steadily just kept booking weddings every few months. Not a ton, but maybe about 5 to 7, maybe 8 a year. And I did that until about the end of 2015 when I actually set up my own LLC, my own business for filmmaking. And it really felt like the dream was coming alive. That first about 10 to 12 months of having my own actual business, my registered LLC, I actually did about $20,000, and that just ignited a passion that this could probably be a reality for me. But I didn't want to just stay in wedding filmmaking, although that's a great place to start, and there's a lot of people who make great money doing that for years and decades. I just didn't want to stay in wedding films. So I really started to pursue nonprofits and dip my toes into corporate filmmaking as well. I wasn't making enough to replace my income. I was still working a full-time marketing gig, and I was making about $42,000 a year doing that gig, although it was just mind-numbing work, and I was just so tired of it, and I wanted to do anything with a camera. So I took my portfolio, I reached out to a creative agency locally, I pitched them my portfolio and what I could do and offer video and photography services for their clients. It would be a brand new service for them. It'd be a risk for them, but they could hire me on and I could introduce that. I felt confident enough doing that. And so this is where my journey looks more like that jumbled mess. I needed to go and test things out and work through some things and build my portfolio further, gain some more skills, meet some more clients, be more involved in the community. A lot of things just happened that I didn't really know how they would pan out. But this creative agency offered me $50,000 as a salary a year to work with a camera. And that felt like a dream come true. So I took it and I worked there for 3 years. After the first year, I really felt like I wanted to quit because it was a very tough year. Not a whole lot was happening. We weren't really getting a lot of projects, and I kind of felt like a failure. But in year 2 is where we started to get more projects. I really came into my own. I felt like I was really getting confident in telling stories with a camera. And we started to see more and more projects and more revenue. Things are growing. And then in year 3, we got the opportunity to work with a Fortune 100 company. Revenue was growing really, really well. We were getting close to about $350,000 in revenue for the year. And my mind was honestly just blown that was happening. So it was really happening. But I reached a point where my wife and I had our first daughter. We were planning to have more kids. I wanted to be with my family more whenever I wasn't out filming or working on projects. I wanted to just be with my people. I just wanted to be with my people. I wanted my life to be more than just being in an office where I was. think if I could just pull back for a second, I think it's really important to chase filmmaking, not just for filmmaking and the art and the creativity and then the money and the projects, but really to pursue the life that you want and use your passion of filmmaking to make that life a reality. Whatever the case may be, I think it's important to build a life and allow filmmaking to be the way that you build that life, not the other way around, not filmmaking be your life. At that creative agency, I was also not seeing eye to eye with management, and I just felt like the future wasn't going to be a great one. So I stepped away. I had about 2 or 3 clients that had agreed that they were going to work with me once I stepped away from that agency, and I left, and I took a risk. I didn't know if it was going to work. I left smack dab in the middle of 2019. Like June 30th was my last day. So July 1st was my first day on my own. And for the next 6 months until the end of 2019, I actually made more than my salary in that 6 months. I made $57,000, whereas my salary at the time was $52,000. And that told me right then and there that this life of pursuing filmmaking, doing filmmaking, and being in business for myself could 100% work. To be honest, I couldn't be at that point without having done those 3 years at that creative agency. It's just honest. It's just true. So don't forget that where you are right now, and maybe the year or 2 or 3 years that you're spending working for somebody else, might actually be the preparation that you have needed this entire time to launch you forward. And don't be upset about that. I have my own filmmaking business now. I've had it for 4 years. I even weathered the storm of the pandemic. I had only had my own business for 7 months when the pandemic hit in March of 2020. And somehow my revenue, like a few months after COVID hit, my revenue started to climb and I started to get more projects. I know there were a lot of creatives and a lot of people who that's not their story. So I feel very fortunate and very blessed that my story was the opposite. My story was that my business grew and expanded. So now 4 years later, I still have my business. It's still growing. Somehow I've been able to build a business that last year hit $300,000 in revenue. And I didn't think that was going to be the case after year 3. I'm pivoting and moving in ways that I really want to move in. And I feel like the future is super exciting. I'm kind of in another phase of iteration where I feel like I'm kind of spinning around a little bit again. But I feel like my trajectory, my eyes are set on where things are going and where I'm going. And I know I'm going to get there, even though I'm working on a bunch of different things. And that's what's exciting about this journey of filmmaking, is it's not clear cut. It's not exact. It's not linear. It is truly what you make of it. This journey of filmmaking should not be linear, and it will not be linear. You may be at the very beginning where you need to go and work for somebody, and that's what you need to do for the next few years in order to set yourself up for what you want to do in the next few chapters of your life. Or maybe you've gone through like those first 2 chapters like I did, and you're down the path of doing your own thing. Don't compare your journey to somebody else's, even though I struggle with that all the time. I think in order to keep ourselves healthy and keep ourselves focused and to keep ourselves content and joyful in the work that we do, we have to be really careful of those toxic mentalities, those toxic comparisons. So that's why I share my journey, so that maybe some of you all can relate to it. Maybe some of you can't. Maybe you are way ahead of me, and that's awesome too. Or maybe you're further behind me and you've been working on this for several years. That's okay too. It's your journey, not my journey. But I hope that my journey can be an inspiration to wherever, whomever, however you're doing this.